Oh my God, did he just slap her? A whisper tears through the gala space. Amid the dazzling crystal lights of the Plaza Hotel, Declan Shaw, the celebrated tech millionaire genius, delivers a slap that stuns all of Manhattan. In front of the elite and the media, he humiliates his pregnant wife just to please his mistress in the fiery red dress. Rowena does not cry. She just looks at him, silently, then walks away. Not a word, not a tear. But the next morning, while Declan is still drunk on victory, that weak wife steps back into his tower not with tears, but with a millionaire investor by her side and a plan strong enough to collapse her husband's empire. The crystal lights in the grand ballroom of the Plaza Hotel fall like trapped stars. Laughter, the clink of crystal glasses, echoes amid the majestic symphony music. Manhattan is intoxicated with power. At the center of it all, Declan Shaw, CEO of Shaw Innovations, strides through the crowd, his dazzling white smile, his Tom Ford tuxedo hugging his tall frame. He is like a young king, confident that this entire room was born to revolve around him. Rowena stands beside him, silent as a green silk ribbon amid a sea of light. Her 6-month pregnant belly gently protrudes under the satin fabric. Her eyes follow her husband's every movement, the way he shakes hands, smiles, and lingers one beat too long before the woman in the red dress standing in the corner of the room. Kendra Lewis, communications assistant, once a rumor, now no longer a rumor. The moment Kendra approaches, Declan does not avoid her. He wraps his arm around her waist, his smile blooming with arrogance, as if declaring a new possession. Rowena feels the eyes around her shift toward her pity, curiosity, and even glee. She takes a deep breath, keeps her gentle smile, her gray eyes still as a lake before the storm. The night continues like a meticulously directed play. Congratulations, handshakes, elegant music. But for Rowena, every sound echoes back into a cold void. Each time Declan leans in to whisper to Kendra, she hears the tearing sound inside herself. Not jealousy, but the clear realization that her marriage has been turned into a prop for her husband's power performance. When dessert is served, Declan raises his glass. His voice rings out firmly. In business, there is no room for weakness. We seize opportunities. No apologies needed. The crowd applauds. His eyes glance at Kendra. She leans in, smiling, whispers, "You're not one for outdated things either." Dear audience, grab a glass of water, take a moment to relax, and keep listening to the story. The twists are still to come. And please drop a comment below letting me know where you're watching from and what time it is for you. It's always a joy to see who's joining us from around the world. Drop a 1 in the comments if you find this story gripping, so we can keep bringing you more captivating tales. That statement falls like a stone into a still pond. The looks around stop. Rowena sets down her glass, her fingers trembling slightly. She says softly, but clearly, perhaps she's had a bit too much to drink. The room freezes. Declan turns, his eyes icy cold. Then, he laughs. The laugh echoes, hoarse and arrogant. "Darling, don't forget, you're just the decoration in this castle." And then crack! The slap rings out amid the music like a knife slicing the air in two. Declan's hand strikes Rowena's cheek, hard enough to knock her earring to the marble floor. She staggers, one hand clutching her belly. Gasps of horror echo throughout the room. Kendra freezes. The music stops. The lights still blaze. But Rowena's world plunges into silence. No one approaches, not a single one. She straightens, gently smooths her dress. Her eyes lock onto Declan not with fear, but with a cold calm. Not a tear, not a word. Just slow, steady breaths, as if she is recalibrating her own rhythm. The click of heels echoes on the marble floor. Click, click, click. The entire room watches. Rowena walks away, head held high, leaving behind the whispers, the awkward apologies, and the man who just lost everything without realizing it. Outside, the cold night wind cuts through Fifth Avenue. Rowena steps out the grand doors, where the first snowflakes of the season drift onto her shoulders. The golden lights reflect the red mark etched on her cheek, like an indelible stamp. A young server rushes over, stammering, "Mrs. Shaw, do you need a car called?" She nods, her voice low, almost a whisper. "Call my old car for me, the black Mercedes. I'll drive myself." The server bows, disappears. Rowena stands still, eyes fixed on the lit towers in the distance. Manhattan still bustles, radiant, proud like Declan, but inside her, something has broken. And right at that crack, something else is forming, sharp, silent, and unstoppable. She places her hand on her cheek, feeling the burning warmth from the slap. The humiliation mixes with the cold wind, hardening into steel. As the sleek black car glides away, streetlights reflect on the windows like streaks of blood. Rowena does not look back. Behind her, the plaza's lights still glow, fake as Declan's smile. But in the darkness ahead, a plan is igniting, the plan of a woman once seen as decoration, now ready to rewrite the definition of power. Manhattan's night spreads like ink bleeding on black silk. The sleek black Mercedes glides silently through sleeping avenues, only the low hum of the engine and neon lights reflecting on the glass. Inside the car, Rowena remains silent. She does not turn on the radio, does not turn on the heat, just lets the wind whistle through the door crack as a reminder that she is still alive. Her hand still rests on her cheek, where Declan's handprint has not yet faded, but the pain no longer makes her tremble. It has transformed into something else, a cold awareness of true power. She does not return to the gold-plated penthouse overlooking Central Park, where everything is arranged like a luxurious prison. Instead, the car turns toward Brooklyn, crossing the glowing Manhattan Bridge through the night mist. Cold wind whistles through the door crack, carrying the scent of rust and the damp Hudson River. An old iron gate appears after a narrow alley. Rowena stops the car, steps out, keys jingling in her hand. The gate opens, revealing a 3-story-old weaving factory, once her studio before marriage. Dust covers everything, but the smell of linseed oil and old paint lingers, the scent of the years when she was still herself. Rowena turns on the light. Dim yellow light illuminates old drawings, cardboard architectural models, faded wallpaper samples. She walks slowly through the room, each step treading on memories. She remembers the all-nighters here, drawing, designing, dreaming before Declan appeared and turned her into the woman behind his success. On the wall, a structural blueprint of a glass tower still hangs. Sharp, precise lines, obsessively accurate. She places her hand on it, fingers trembling slightly. That tower is the headquarters of Shaw Innovations, her brainchild. But on every document, only Declan's name. She smiles faintly, a sad but firm smile. "You think I didn't know what I signed, Declan?" Rowena walks to the corner of the room, where a small, dusty safe sits. She opens the secret drawer behind the bookshelf, pulls out an old leather-bound folder with frayed stitching. She enters the code, the click sounds softly. The safe door springs open. Not money, not jewelry. Original patents, the solar energy glass wall schematics, the adaptive core steel frame system, and a prenuptial agreement that Declan nearly overlooked on their wedding day. In that document, one clause he missed: all of Rowena Vance's intellectual property, including designs and patent copyrights, cannot be transferred or used if the marriage is violated by acts of violence. Now, that slap has activated exactly that clause. And Declan has no idea he just ignited the bomb buried under his own empire with his own hands. Rowena sits at the old drafting table, opens the folder. She runs her fingers through each page, her eyes stopping at the dry lines containing the entire future of Shaw Innovations. She remembers every stroke, every argument, every presentation where she sat silently in the back while he took the applause. Now, everything returns, not as revenge, but as rebalancing gravity. Outside, distant car horns fade. Light from the Manhattan Bridge spills through the window. She picks up a pencil, opens a blank sheet. The lead glides slowly, then faster. No longer the Shaw Tower design, but a map for something else, a rebirth plan. On the paper, she draws 2 parallel structures, an old empire cracking, and a new building, innovative, sustainable, humane, named Vance Designs. Each line like stitches healing her own soul. She looks up out the window. Against the New York sky, skyscrapers gleam like blades. But in Rowena's eyes, they no longer threaten. They are just materials waiting to be restructured. The old clock chimes 3 a.m. Rowena sets down the pencil, picks up her phone. The screen lights up, reflecting her face, the bruise on her cheek darkening. eyes cold and focused. A name appears in contacts. Gideon Kavanaugh, a genius investor, once Declan's rival, also an old friend who vanished from her life 5 years ago. Rowena takes a deep breath. She presses call. The tone rings. 1 ring, 2, 3. Then a deep male voice, calm, slightly hoarse from lack of sleep. Rowena, I thought I'd never get this call again. She closes her eyes, her voice low, decisive. I need your help, or rather I have a business proposition for you. That moment, the wheels of fate begin to turn. No turning back. Rowena opens the folder, her hand lightly touching the line, registered under Rowena Vance. She smiles faintly, whispers to herself, Baby, Mommy found the load-bearing point. But streetlights outside illuminate her face, reflecting eyes blazing bright. An architect has rediscovered the blueprint of her own life. Rain taps steadily on the window. Pale blue light from the Manhattan Bridge reflects on Rowena's face, making the bruise on her cheek look like a shadow streak. She sits straight, phone to her ear, heart pounding so hard she can hear it. On the other end, the deep male voice rises, light but restrained. Rowena, it's been 5 years. What brings you calling me in the middle of the night? She breathes deeply. I'm not calling to revisit the past. I'm calling to rewrite the future. A pause, paper rustling on the other end, a chair swiveling lightly. Rowena imagines Gideon Kavanaugh, the mysterious investor from London, who negotiates like playing chess, always 3 moves ahead. He was the only one who saw her talent, before Declan turned her into a shadow in project files. She opens the documents on the table, her voice even and cold as metal. I have legal ownership of all solar glass wall and adaptive core frame patents, the core technologies of Shaw Innovations. Per the prenuptial agreement appendix, since Declan committed an act of violence, usage rights to those assets are terminated. Do you understand what this means? A sharp breath from the other end, then Gideon chuckles lightly, brief but sharp. It means Declan Shaw's multi-billion-dollar company is standing on sand. Exactly, Rowena replies. And I'm not here to sue him. I'm here to buy him out. That statement hangs in the air, heavy as a bell tolling a new era. Gideon sits silent for seconds, then his voice deepens. You want me to join? No, Rowena says, eyes fixed on the glass reflecting the city. I want us to join. You have capital. I have technology and the story. The whole world is talking about last night's slap. If we act before the news cools, the market will side with us. A moment of silence. Then Gideon responds, his voice tinged with a smile she can hear. Still the Rowena I knew, always turning pain into strategy. She smiles lightly. One difference. This time, I'm not building for someone else. I'm building for myself. The sound of a fountain pen, perhaps Gideon taking notes. All right, I can make an initial offer. Cancade Capital takes 49% stake. But I need assurance that all intellectual property truly belongs to you. It belongs to me, Rowena says firmly. And I have proof, notarized signatures, and witnesses. She pauses, then adds softly, I also have a motive. The market will love the story of a betrayed woman turning into a power icon. On the other end, Gideon sighs softly. The media will devour it, and Declan will melt in the PR storm. He doesn't know that slap didn't just destroy a marriage, Rowena says, her voice steady. It activated a legal clause he laughed off on our wedding day. A long silence. Then Gideon asks, softer, almost a whisper. Are you sure you want to go this far? This isn't just a takeover, Rowena. This is war. She looks at the night sky, where lights from the Shaw Tower still blaze like an unhealed wound. I know, but sometimes, war is the only path to reclaim peace. Gideon falls silent. Then he laughs, deep and warm. God, I forgot this feeling when you speak. I believe the whole world can be redesigned. Rowena smiles faintly. Maybe it can. If you dare lay the first brick. Gideon taps the table. I'll take the earliest flight to New York. 9 a.m. tomorrow. Where do we meet? Brooklyn studio, she replies. Where it all began. Got it, he says. Then his voice lowers, more serious. And Declan? By morning, Rowena says softly. He'll know what loss of control feels like. The call ends. Rowena sets down the phone. In the room now, only the steady rain on the tin roof. She sits silent for a moment, letting her heartbeat slow. Then she opens her laptop, sends the first email subject line simply, "Cease and desist notice draft urgent." A lightning flash outside the window, illuminating her face. That light reflects eyes no longer afraid, only absolute focus. On the wall, the Shaw Tower blueprint hangs silently. She steps to it, marks the load-bearing core with a pen, the point that, if removed, the entire building collapses. "No need to destroy," she whispers. "Just pull the right thread." Outside, thunder rumbles. A new chapter ignites not in a boardroom, but in the heart of a woman once seen as decoration. Dawn casts a pale gold over Manhattan's glass towers. Grand Avenue bustles, cars tailing amid blaring horns. On the 72nd floor of Shaw Innovations, Declan Shaw sits alone in the corner office, sipping black coffee, trying to shake off fatigue. Last night, the press was full of gala photos, but he doesn't care. He believes he still controls everything. Rowena will come back. She always does. A soft knock. Paul, the young assistant, enters, face pale. "Mr. Shaw." "She's in the lobby." Declan frowns. "Which she?" "Mrs. Shaw, with a lawyer and 2 police officers." The coffee cup falls to the floor, shatters. Meanwhile, in the main lobby, Rowena stands amid the luxurious space of Shaw Innovations, where everything is designed to make people feel small. 10-meter ceilings, white light reflecting on Italian stone floors. The receptionist bows, voice trembling. "Mrs. Shaw, how can I help you?" Rowena wears a perfectly tailored charcoal gray suit, hair in a high bun, face pale but resolute. The faint purple bruise on her cheek remains, like an undeniable accusation. She doesn't need to speak loudly. Her voice low, each word clear. "I'm here to see my husband, Declan Shaw, and I will not accept no as an answer." Beside her is Evelyn March, renowned lawyer with 30 years in finance. Silver hair neatly pinned, eyes bright and cold. She carries a heavy briefcase, each step decisive. Behind them, 2 officers in dark blue uniforms, hands near cuffs. Their presence silences the once busy lobby. Frank, head of security, a burly ex-cop, approaches. "Mrs. Shaw, may I ask the reason for this visit?" Evelyn answers for her, voice sharp as steel. "My client has filed a criminal complaint for domestic violence. We are here to deliver it directly to Mr. Declan Shaw, named in the complaint. Additionally, we have documents for intellectual property infringement, demanding immediate cessation of use of technology owned by Mrs. Rowena Shaw." Frank freezes. A wave of whispers spreads through the lobby. Employees glance at each other, faces ashen. Rumors of last night's slap flooded social media, but no one expected Rowena to actually sue her husband right at his headquarters. The executive elevator lights up. The chrome doors open. Rowena steps in, with Evelyn and the 2 officers. On each passing floor, she sees her reflection in the mirror, a woman she once didn't recognize. Calm, cold, powerfully terrifying. When the doors open on the 72nd floor, Declan waits. Morning light floods the office, reflecting on the glass wall overlooking Central Park. He forces a smile, but his lips tremble slightly. "Rowena, what the hell is this? Calling police to my company?" She enters, doesn't answer. Evelyn sets the briefcase on the desk, opens it, the latches clicking dryly. "Mr. Shaw, this is the official assault complaint, with witness statements from last night's gala. Additionally, per the prenuptial agreement clause, all usage rights to patents and designs owned by Mrs. Rowena Vance, my client's maiden name, are suspended from the moment the act of violence is confirmed." Declan stiffens. "Which patents? Those designs are mine company property." Evelyn doesn't flinch. "This building, the glass wall system, the energy management software, all based on Mrs. Rowena's intellectual property. Your continued use is illegal." Rowena stands still, eyes never leaving her husband. "You built an empire on my foundation, and now you'll see how fast it crumbles." Declan roars. "You're destroying yourself. I gave you everything. You gave me nothing." Rowena interrupts, her voice calm. "You only took." An officer steps forward, places the file on the desk. "Mr. Shaw, we need your cooperation for a statement. Standard procedure." Declan backs away, eyes darting wildly. He looks around like seeking escape, but the room seems to shrink, air heavy. Then, ding. The elevator chimes. The doors open, and a tall man in a black suit steps in. Gideon Kavanaugh. He is calm, faint smile on his lips. Sorry, am I on time? Evelyn closes the briefcase, nods lightly. Perfect. Declan pales. What the fuck are you doing here, Gideon? Gideon steps beside Rowena, stands parallel, his voice deep but resonant. I'm here to invest, Declan, and it seems your company needs a buyer. The space freezes. Declan looks at them. Ex-wife, lawyer, police, rival. Everything he once owned, now united against him. In the cold morning light of Manhattan, Rowena is no longer the slapped wife, but a force the woman who returned to reclaim everything. Not with tears, but with law, intellect, and a perfect plan. Outside the glass, the sun rises, reflecting on the Shaw Tower like a golden crack. An empire begins to waver. The air in the 72nd floor office thickens like it could be cut with a knife. Early sunlight slants through the massive glass, casting Rowena and Gideon's shadows on the marble floor, two long, solid shadows, overlapping Declan's solitary one. Declan stands behind the desk, gripping the edge until his knuckles whiten. His face flushes red, from rage and fear he doesn't want seen. You think you can just barge in here, spout some bullshit law, and take my company? No way in hell. Evelyn places a thick file gently on the desk, her voice calm to the point of chilling. This isn't bullshit law, Mr. Shaw. This is an immediate cease and desist order for intellectual property use. If you don't sign, all Shaw Innovations operations could freeze within 24 hours. Gideon steps forward, not loud but his voice heavy as steel. Or, we can help you save part of this ship. Declan whips around, voice sharp. You here to lecture me, Kavanaugh? I don't need charity from rivals. Gideon raises an eyebrow slightly, face still serene. He opens his briefcase, pulls out a thick document, places it on the desk. Not charity, a buyout offer. Rowena stands silent beside him, eyes fixed on her husband. Gideon opens the document, flips to the first page, slides it toward Declan. Kankade Capital is prepared to buy 51% controlling stake in Shaw Innovations at 30 cents per dollar. You keep 10% for restructuring and an honorary board title if you sign by 9 a.m. tomorrow. Declan laughs hoarsely, voice full of contempt. 30 cents? You're joking. My company's worth over $2 billion. Gideon smiles faintly, says nothing, just pulls out his phone, taps a few buttons. The screen projects a plummeting stock chart. Not anymore, Declan. News of the assault lawsuit and IP cease and desist has leaked. In the last 10 minutes, your stock dropped over 27%. By noon, 50%. By afternoon, no one will touch Shaw Innovations. A wave of silence sweeps the room. Frank, guarding the door, swallows hard. Even the two officers exchange glances. They don't grasp all the finance, but they see a man losing everything. Declan tries to regain composure, voice lowering, trembling slightly. Rowena, you really want to destroy me? She doesn't answer immediately. She looks at him, eyes no longer hateful, just weary. No, Declan, I'm not here to destroy you. I'm here to end you. She approaches the desk, places a paper gently before him, a copy of the prenuptial clause. Bold print. Any act of violence by one party results in loss of usage and control rights to the other party's intellectual property. Rowena says softly, you signed your own sentence the night you raised your hand to slap me. That slap didn't just hurt me, it activated a legal clause. And now, this empire is no longer yours. Evelyn adds, voice sharp, we're not here to threaten, we're here to negotiate. Sign. And Shaw Innovations restructures as a joint venture between Vance Designs and Kankade Capital. You keep a place, instead of facing court as a defendant. Declan looks around, eyes frantic. He seeks an ally, anyone, but the office is empty. The glass walls reflect a harsh truth. His power was an illusion. Gideon leans in, voice low and decisive. You have until 9 a.m. tomorrow. After that, we let the market finish it. Rowena steps back, gathers papers. She looks at him one last time, not hate, not pity, just farewell. You once told me, in business, there's no room for weakness. You were right, but this time, you're the weak one. Sewing. She turns away. Evelyn closes the briefcase. Gideon follows. As they reach the door, Declan suddenly shouts, voice breaking, "Rowena, you'll regret this. The world will know you're the traitor." She pauses, turns her head. "No, Declan. The world will know I'm the one who stood up." The door closes. For a moment, the room is silent enough to hear the second-hand ticking. Declan stands exposed in the morning light, in a building where every brick, every glass frame bears the name of the woman he just lost. Down on the street, Rowena steps out with Gideon. Morning light hits her gray eyes. Manhattan still bustles, still radiant. But today, it belongs to her. She breathes deeply, says softly, "He just lost his empire, and we just launched a new era." Gideon looks at her, half surprised, half admiring. "Vance Designs?" Rowena smiles. "No, the future." The air in the 72nd floor office still thickens after Rowena and Gideon leave. Declan sits motionless behind the desk, staring out the glass. Outside, the city bustles, but in his mind, all sounds vacuumed away, only blood pounding in his ears. From King of Shaw Innovations, he is now just a lonely man, standing in a cracking kingdom. Emails and market alerts flash on screens like cold knives. Shaw stock down 48%. Operations freeze order possible. Kankade Capital in buyout talks. Declan clenches his fists, shouts in desperation, "No, no one can take it from me." The elevator dings. He startles, looks up. The doors open, and Kendra Lewis enters. She wears an emerald green dress, perfect makeup, diamond necklace he gifted this morning around her neck. Hermes bag in hand, eyes anxious but calculating. "Declan," she calls, voice soft, tinged with tremor. "I just heard. Reporters are swarming the lobby. What's happening?" Declan lunges, grabs her arm, nearly desperate. "Kendra, they're trying to destroy me. Rowena, she staged it all. You have to tell them it was just a misunderstanding last night. Say it. You were there. Tell them I didn't mean it." Kendra freezes. In that moment, she sees before her not the arrogant man who once controlled the city, but a wounded animal howling in its own cage. But inside Kendra, a cold calculation runs. She remembers Rowena's eyes this morning, calm, powerful, backed by Gideon and police. And Declan, he's sinking, dragging anyone clinging to him down. She breathes deeply, gently pulls her arm free. "Declan, I can't lie." He blinks. "What?" "I witnessed it all. You slapped her." Her voice small, but each word like a nail driven into the floor. "You lost control, Declan." I was scared, very scared. Declan recoils, face ashen. "Kendra, what the fuck are you saying? You owe me. I gave you everything." She bites her lip, tears welling, not regret, but a tool. "I can't keep standing by you, Declan. I need to protect myself." A knock. Evelyn enters, with the two officers. Kendra turns, as if grasping a lifeline. I'm a witness. I was there last night." Evelyn glances at her, nods lightly. "Thank you, Miss Lewis. Your statement will be recorded in the file." Declan turns to stone. He looks at his mistress, who once smiled radiantly in his arms under gala lights, now avoiding his gaze like the plague. "Kendra, you can't do this to me." She bows her head. "I'm just telling the truth." The two officers advance. "Mr. Declan Shaw, we need you to come with us for a statement. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you in court." Declan braces on the desk, trembling. "No, I'm the victim. She tricked me. She..." But no one listens anymore. The metallic click of handcuffs echoes coldly. Click. That moment, Declan's throne officially collapses. As the two officers lead him down the glass hallway, employees silently part. Their eyes mix shock, fear, and pity. The man who once commanded hundreds, now led away like a criminal. In the elevator, Kendra watches. Her breath quickens. She just saved herself. But deep down, she knows she drove the final nail into Declan's coffin. Rowena stands on the ground floor as the elevator opens. Light from the ceiling highlights the bruise on her cheek, making it glow like a symbol. Declan sees her, his eyes lost in the crowd. "Rowena," his voice chokes. "You win." She doesn't answer, just looks at him. A long, eternal silence. Then she turns away, whispers just loud enough for herself. It's not me who wins, Declan. It's just truth returned to its place. The elevator doors close, swallowing Declan's figure in the white light. As police escort him outside, reporters explode like a swarm of bees. Hundreds of flashes capture the moment an empire falls. The first Twitter headline appears, Declan Shaw arrested Manhattan's most expensive slap. Up high, Rowena stands before the glass, watching the traffic below. Wind from the Hudson blows, lifting a few strands of hair. Gideon approaches, voice deep but warm. Justice doesn't come from courts, it comes from you. She smiles faintly, eyes still on the shifting sky. No, it comes from architecture. Gideon tilts his head slightly. Architecture? Yes. Everything, even power, has a load-bearing point, and once you find it, every building can fall. She places her hand on her belly, feeling the tiny life stir. Light reflects in her eyes like two glass shards, cold, but crystal clear. The storm has passed, but the ground beneath them shifts. A new era builds from the ruins of an old empire. 3 weeks later, New York sheds the scandal's gloom to return to its familiar bustle. But in the snowy, dusted streets of late season, an old building in Brooklyn's artist district glows through the night. Vance Designs, the fresh engraving on the brass plaque reflects warm golden light. No more grand ballrooms, no violin strings or champagne. Just the scratch of pencils on paper, keyboard clacks, and the sounds of people starting over. Inside, Rowena sits at the old drafting table, where she once cried the first night leaving Declan. Now, it's covered in sketches, buildings with soft forms, blending glass and greenery, merging into the sky. Each line no longer just technical strokes. They are scars transformed into structure. Behind her, a group of young architects' bright faces, diverse skin tones and backgrounds discuss animatedly. None have ever stepped into high society galas. They came because they believe in the woman who dared to stand. The door opens. Gideon enters, 2 hot coffees in hand. He sets one before her. The board approved the Haven project. Full budget cleared. Rowena looks up, gray eyes lighting. The Haven? You kept that name? Gideon smiles. Your name. The Haven, Vance Designs' first project. A sustainable community center for homeless women and children, built on land once owned by Shaw Innovations. Where a power tower fell, now rises a place of healing. Rowena stands, approaches the model board. She strokes the transparent glass of the simulation, where lights reflect like early morning sky. I once thought architecture was power. Now I understand its memory. It holds both pain and how we overcome it. Gideon looks at her, eyes admiring and warm. You're not just building buildings, Rowena. You're rebuilding yourself. She smiles, replies softly. Not just me. This whole world needs redesigning. The phone rings. Evelyn, the lawyer, on screen. Voice calm but joyful. I just got notice. Declan officially resigned from the board. He's under investigation for financial fraud. And your personal protection order is extended indefinitely. Rowena nods. Thank you, Evelyn. She smiles via video. Rowena, I've represented hundreds of women, but none made me believe in justice like you. Now go build your way. The screen goes dark. Rowena stands silent a moment. In her eyes, no more anger, just calm like a lake after storm. She steps to the balcony, where Hudson wind blows, carrying smoke and salt scents. The city stretches before her, thousands of lit windows, millions of stories unfolding. Amid that forest of light, the Shaw Tower stands, tall, cold, empty. Rowena gazes at it long, then says softly, "Not every structure deserves to stand." Gideon joins her. "You'll tear it down?" She shakes her head. "No, I'll make it live again, by turning it into a place people can enter without fear of harm." He smiles lightly. "An architectural baptism." "Exactly," she replies. "And perhaps, forgiveness." Wind tousles her hair. Sunset light falls, making the old bruise on her cheek a faint shadow. The symbol of that humiliation, now a mark of victory not from revenge, but from surviving and rebuilding. Inside, the design team works. A young woman laughs loudly, holding up a drawing. "Rowena, look, morning natural light will stream through the atrium right into the reading area." Rowena looks, smiles. Perfect. Light must always pass through the darkest places. Laughter spreads through the loft. No more shadows, no more fear, just new energy, warm and alive. She returns to the drafting table, hand on blank paper. In that moment, she sees her reflection in the glass, a woman slapped at the gala, now architect of her own destiny. She draws the first line for a new project, a green housing complex for single mothers reclaiming their lives. The pencil glides, forming an arch opening to the sky. Gideon watches, asks softly, "Project name?" Rowena smiles, "Phoenix." Outside, the sun sets behind skyscrapers. The last light rays through the glass, illuminating the brass plaque, "Vance Designs Building What's Next." She closes her eyes, says softly, like a promise to the child in her womb, "To all who have fallen, we don't build to revenge, we build to start over." And somewhere out there, in the gathering dark, another hand grips a glass tightly. Declan Shaw watches the news screen, eyes harboring a smoldering fire. The story isn't over. New York night falls, reflecting on the glass of towers Rowena once feared. Now, they are empty symbols. In Brooklyn's corner, light from her studio still glows, casting on brick walls like a steadfast heartbeat. The slap that once silenced the world now becomes the opening note of rebirth. Rowena didn't just reclaim an empire, she reclaimed herself, and thousands of women watching see hope in it. Justice doesn't come from courtrooms, but from the moment we dare step out of fear. And sometimes, a person's strongest weapon isn't power or money, but the ability to rebuild from ruins. But elsewhere, Declan Shaw still lingers silent, watching, quietly awaiting his chance. Rowena's battle isn't over, for fallen towers always leave a cloud of power dust. What about you? Do you think Rowena is ruthless, or the only one strong enough to stand? Leave your thoughts below. Share this story if you believe no one can define a woman's worth except herself.